guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Monday, which means it's time for another video. Now, this is where we do typically a 5x5. Now, 5x5 is we take 5 subjects related to magic. I spend 5 minutes talking about each subject. I move on to the next subject. It's always quick, it's always snappy, and you never know what you're going to get. And today, I've got a very special 5x5. But first of all, I need to apologise for a couple of different things. First of all, I'm here in my home office. So this is my home office. At the bottom of my garden. This is where I kind of go to do a lot of my work when I'm not in my main office. This is where I go to, create a lot of the tricks that you guys eventually see. I'll spend hours down here coming up with tricks and ideas and concepts and so on and so forth. Well, I'm working from home today because I got back quite late from America yesterday. So I'm working from home today, which is why I'm at the bottom of my garden. And Michael's just told me we don't have a video for tonight. And I've been meaning to do this for a while, so I'm filming it from here. So first of all, I apologise for that. Second of all, if I look a little bit cross-eyed, it's because I've got this weird thing. Sometimes people say on the videos, you look a bit cross-eyed. The reason is I've had this weird thing ever since I was a kid, which is where I'm tired. When I'm tired, my left eye almost completely shuts. And it's happened ever since I was a kid, and I've literally got back from America late last night. I am very, very tired, the reason I'm working from home today is I'm doing one-to-ones in the Netrix literally all day today, which is kind of 1 hour sessions throughout the day non-stop till about 1 o'clock in the morning. So because of that, I'm even more tired. So if I'm not cross-eyed. If you see this eye dropping, it's because I'm a little bit tired. That's kind of the main reason. But today, I wanted to do a video for you. And I questioned whether I should do this video. I've been umming and ahhing about whether to do this for a while. One of the big questions that I get asked over and over and over again on this channel is, oh, what tricks are you going to come up with from now for the end of the year? What are the tricks that you are most excited about that you're releasing? And I don't really like to do videos on that very often until the tricks come out. And the reason, very simply, is because despite what people think about me and Lloyd Barnes, I don't particularly like to overhype any tricks that I'm involved in. If you ever see me, what I'll do, outside of a couple of exceptions, I'll get very involved in the marketing of a trick and I'll be there to answer people's questions and so on and so forth once the trick's released. But beforehand, I don't really mention it. There's loads of different tricks that I could talk about constantly, but I tend not to mention them until they come out. And this kind of video, I've been wanting to make it for a while because so many people have said, are there any tricks you're excited about that are coming out this year that you haven't mentioned? And I've been wanting to do this video for a while. But I just worry that somebody's going to go, oh, here's Craig hyping up the tricks again. Which that's not the purpose of this video. And I questioned whether to do it. And then I thought, you know what? If there's a few people there that don't like the content of this video, they simply don't have to watch. Now, in reality, they probably will watch, and they'll probably use it as an excuse to moan at me about something else, but I don't really care. The people I make these videos for, the people that I actually do Magic TV for, are the people that follow me that like my content. So this video is for you guys. I want to talk today about 5 different tricks that I've got coming out between now and the end of the year that I'm super excited about. Now, I said at the beginning of the year that I wasn't really going to bring as many tricks out this year as I did last year. I've kind of failed at that. I think I'm going to fail at that. I think it's probably going to be the same amount, if not slightly more. The reason is you can never predict what tricks are coming out through which production company. You never know. Like, I've got stuff that I filmed for Penguin 3 years ago. Credit Swipe is a perfect example. Credit Swipe came out about a month ago now. And with Credit Swipe, I filmed that 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. I filmed it way before Magic Button came out. And it's only now been released. And I never know when these things are coming out and when these things aren't coming out. There's one of the tricks I'm going to be talking about on this video has been like almost 4 years in the making. So you never know when the tricks are coming out. So because of that, I can't really say for sure, oh, I'm definitely going to have so many tricks out this year, because I'll always get surprised. Something that I don't think is coming out will come out, or something that I was confident would come out isn't going to come out. So you kind of never know, if that makes sense. And that's one of the things that a lot of new creators find the strangest thing to deal with when it comes to the Magic community, and specifically creating Magic within the Magic community, which is you kind of just never know how long things are going to take, and they typically take a lot longer than you would imagine, especially when you're working with the bigger companies like Murphy's and Alakazam and Penguin, because they've got so many different tricks, they've got so many different things that they're working on constantly. It's very, very difficult to it's not an easy thing to do, to be able to sort of understand that it can take years, because with these bigger production companies, there's a million different tricks they're working on. Like Penguin, despite being the fact that I'm creator of the year 3 years in a row and all that, I'm still a very small cog in a very big machine. And there's a million other artists that have got tricks coming out, that are prioritized above mine, and they should be as well. So you just never know. And I didn't think that I'd be getting as many tricks in the first part of the year, because we're kind of basically 6 months through the year now. We're going into June. We've just hit June, which is the 6th month. I didn't think that I would have as many tricks come out in the first 6 months of the year as I have. I didn't think that I would have Big Blind and the Atomic deck out before the 6 month mark through Murphy's, but it has. There's been a bunch of stuff that's come out through Penguin as well. Ironically, I haven't had an Alakazam trick, unless you count Nightmare Recharge, which isn't mine. But, I'm confident that the 5 tricks I'm going to be talking about on this video are definitely coming out this year. I have dotted my I's and crossed my T's. I've spoke to the various different production companies, and I've said, can I check if this is coming out this year? And they have said yes. So this video is about 5 tricks that I am fairly confident are going to be coming out between now and the end of the year. And in a couple of cases, I can actually give you a date, or not even a date, but kind of a rough idea of exactly when it will be. So there you go. Let's get straight into it without further ado. And let's talk about the one that I think will be next. So the first trick that I want to be talking about is the Savant deck by myself and Lloyd Barnes. Now, I love working with Lloyd. Lloyd is one of my best friends in the whole world. We kind of think the same way. We're both very passionate about Magic. And Lloyd is just a genius. If you haven't spent any time around Lloyd, you won't realize this, but the guy is an absolute genius. And I've worked with Lloyd on a couple of different things. Obviously, Lloyd's my handler at Murphy's Magic, so he has his fingers in every single trick I've ever brought out with Murphy's. But we've worked very specifically together on the Infinity deck and on the Atomic deck. This is kind of the third thing that we're working on together, and this is called the Savant deck. And this has been a couple of years in the making, 2 or 3 years in the making. I think probably veering more towards 2 years than 3 years, but I couldn't say for sure. And the Savant deck, I even have packaging. I will show you the packaging. Here you go. That's the Savant deck packaging. There you go. Murphy Studio Savant deck, lightning fast card calculations. And the Savant deck is very, very cool. I don't know what else I can tell you about it. It's very, very cool. So it's a Gaff deck of cards, right? It's not a, like in 2024, I bought out a lot of decks of cards that weren't cards, like the Heroes and Villains deck and the Infinity deck and Cube 52 and Evoke and Mind Blocks and so on and so forth. It's not like that. This is a deck of playing cards, deck of 52 playing cards. And it's a Gaff deck, but it's a Gaff deck that can be examined, which is kind of a weird thing to say, right? It's a Gaff deck that can be examined. But it is. If you gave this deck of cards to somebody, and you're performing to them, they could go through the cards and they would find nothing. There's no marks. This is not a Phil Smith collaboration. There's no marked cards involved in this trick. There's no memorization at all. There's no rough and smooth. And I mean that. It's not like, there's another way of the cards sticking together. They do not stick together. There's no sticky stuff, not in any way, shape or form. But what the deck allows you to do is, at its basic level, it allows you to do lightning fast card calculation. So imagine you gave a deck of cards to a spectator. They shuffled it as many times as they wanted to. They cut, they shuffle, they cut, they shuffle. They mix it up, and your back can be turned. You can even be out of the room this entire time. You then tell them to cut off some cards, and lay the cards face up on the table so that when you turn around, you can see every single card that's laid out on the table. And bearing in mind, they can shuffle and cut as many times as they want. They can cut the cards from anywhere in the deck, and when they do, they deal them all out. They shuffle those cards, and then they deal them all out onto the table face up. At that point, you turn around, and you turn around for 1 second. And in 1 second, you tell them what the total of the cards is on the table. So you just literally turn back around, and you go, I don't know, 59 or 61 or whatever it may be. And then you say, right, I think that's it. I think the total's 61. And then you add up the cards with them, and it will come to that total. And it's a different total every single time. You're not forcing the total. It would be impossible to force it because they're shuffling the cards, they're cutting the cards. It's impossible to force that total. It can be a different total every single time. And yet you are able to perform using that concept. Many, 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 many miracles. There are, I think, about 20 or 30 routines on the project. But the cool thing about this, it's not even that long a project because everything is self-working. If you know my stuff, you'll know that I have a sleight section normally at the beginning of every trick where I go through all the different sleights that you need to perform the trick. There are no sleights section in this project because there doesn't need to be. Because you don't need to learn anything. You don't need to learn any false cuts or false shuffles or anything because everything's completely self-working. So once you've learned the core trick, all the other tricks are based around the same principle, but using it in a completely different way, which means that the learning curve is almost not there. Like you could, once you understand what the core methodology is behind the trick, you could just watch the performance, and every trick has a studio performance, and you'd immediately know how that trick works. That's what's really cool about it. It's very easy to do. Now, the other thing that this deck does is it acts a little bit like a memorized deck, but with no memorization that the spectator can shuffle. Sounds weird, right? But you can give the spectator the deck of cards. They can shuffle the cards as much as they want. They can cut and shuffle until the cows come home. They then take a card, they look at it, they put it away in their pocket. At that point, you turn around without looking at anything. And remember, the cards aren't marked in any way, shape, or form. There's no marks on the cards. But immediately, you're going to be able to tell them what that card is with no fishing, no guesswork, no multiple outs. You can just very directly say your card is blah, and they will, you will be correct every single time. What's really cool about this project is that you can go from one routine to the other, because even though there's lots of routines and they all work based on the core methodology, the tricks are all completely different to each other. There's such an eclectic range of tricks. So it means that you can very, very simply go from one routine to another, and you'll see multiple performances at Smoke and Mirrors where I did like a 25-minute close-up set just using this deck of cards. So there you go. That's the first one that I wanted to talk about. That's coming out in June. I don't know when in June. I'm filming this on the 1st of June, so we're in June right now. I know it's coming out in June. It's coming very, very soon. It's the Savant deck by myself and Lloyd Barnes. Now, the next trick I want to talk about, again, is coming out. I have been told that this will be out before Magic Live. So this is coming out before Magic Live, okay? And this has been so long. We've been waiting for this so long. And it's my first Alakazam project this year. Normally I've had a couple of things come out through Alakazam by now, but this is my first Alakazam project. It's called Eye Stretch. It's called Eye Stretch, and it's it's by myself. It's by Alakazam. It was designed for me by Drew Perry. If you don't know who Drew Perry is, he is a certified genius in the Magic community, and he's the guy that you go to whenever you need something making. And you need it making well. And I went to Drew probably about 3 years ago now with a problem. I had an idea for a particular trick, and he was able to make the prototype. And we filmed the project for this about 2.5 years ago. This was filmed and this was in the bag about 2.5 years ago. Nemid did the filming. He did the trailer. It's probably Nemid's best trailer, and it's not being released through a variety of different reasons. There's a few reasons why it's not being released. But it's not being released. We have had the packaging at Alakazam for a long time, but we are now in a situation where we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel. This was originally going to be released at Blackpool 2023, And then we thought, okay, maybe Magic Live. Then we thought, well, maybe Blackpool 2024, 2025. But this is definitely coming in the next couple of months. So this is probably my favorite everyday carry. I wish I could tell you guys about this. This has been my everyday carry for ages. Every time I've done an everyday carry video or a what's in my close-up case video, I've had to take these and hide them and like put them out of the way because I didn't want people to see what this was. But yeah, this is the ultimate everyday carry. In fact, I would go so far as to say my favorite thing that I've ever created in terms of EDC is Keymaster. I think Keymaster is great. This, in my opinion, is as strong an everyday carry as Keymaster. So in essence, what it's going to allow you to do is borrow a spectator's AirPods. Okay, and what's cool is you get the gimmicks in the case for any brand of AirPods by Apple, anything, any brand. Okay, so the newer ones, the older ones, you get the gimmicks for absolutely everything. And what it allows you to do is you borrow the AirPods and you take an AirPod out and you give them the case to hold on to, and you do some incredibly magical things with that AirPod. You squish it flat, you expand it, you stretch it. And when I say you do these incredibly magical things, I mean, it looks incredible. You don't need your own AirPods because you borrow the AirPods off a spectator. Thomas Maloney went out. He was on the shoot with me when I went and did this with Nemed. And Tom actually went out and bought a set of AirPods when he saw this trick because he's like, oh my God, that's amazing. I really want to be able to do this trick. And then the poor guy hasn't been able to buy it for 2.5 years. So you don't need AirPods, but you can. It's fine if you've got them, obviously. But you can do some incredible stuff. And there's like multiple routines on the project, and you can string those together into a longer routine if you want to. I tend to do the same routine over and over and over and over and over again, and that routine for me is just commercially just so strong. There's so many moments of magic that happen in the hands of the spectator, and it's very different to anything they've seen before. I even do a card revelation as part of my set, which looks just really good. And as a kicker finale, their AirPod vanishes and appears back in the case that they've been holding onto the whole time. I would say that this is the strongest thing I've ever done with Alakazam, and this includes the coin sets that I've done with them and the Bag Reborn and all of those wonderful coin sets. I think this is the strongest thing that I've ever done with them. The nice thing is it's quite easy to do as well. There's lots of different levels. When I do the teaching, I teach how to do this at a very simple basic level, and I'll teach more advanced handlings as well, so you can go in as hard or as easy as you want to. But there's really nothing else to say about it. It's called iStretch. It's coming out soon. It's incredible EDC. You know, we borrow people's phones all the time. We borrow people's rings all the time, people's money all the time. Everyone carries around AirPods with them. And you know what? If you don't, you bring your own AirPods out, and it's just as strong. It's not like, you know, like when you do ring flight, and if you don't borrow the spectator's ring, you could use your own ring, but it's not really as strong. With this is just as strong. Whether you use the spectator's AirPods or use your AirPods, it's just as strong. And when you watch the trailer, Nem did a great job on the trailer. It looks like a Netflix TV special. Like, people are just screaming and running away. It's great. So there you go. That's iStretch. That's the second of the 5 things that I want to tell you is coming out between now and the end of the year. That one will come out, I imagine, at some point before August, which means it's in the next 2 months. I can't see this taking any longer than 2 months. Okay, so the third trick that's coming out that's coming out before the end of the year, and I'm very confident this is the one that I'm a little bit unsure about. I'm still very confident, but I'm a little bit unsure, and the reason is this is coming out through Penguin. Now, Penguin, out of every production company that I work with, are the ones that are the worst at telling me when stuff comes out. I literally have no idea. Most of the time, when something's coming out, it's because, and I know about it, it's because I have been sent the email that everyone else is sent at the same time, and I'm like, oh, they've bought that one out, have they? That's nice to know. Wonderful. And so, but I did ask the question about this, and I do know that they're in the process of finishing off making the gimmicks. And my internal monologue here is, if you've had the gimmicks made, and I know they've got the packaging, you don't want to have this just sitting around in your warehouse, right? You'd want it to come out, I imagine. So this is called Key Cutter. Now, this is very near and dear to my heart. So first of all, this is part of the Keymaster range, okay? So if you don't know, I bought out Keymaster through Penguin, the new version of Keymaster, not the original one that I bought out through World Magic Shop, or Keymaster Chrome, which was bought out without my permission, which had nothing to do with me whatsoever. This is Keymaster, the Penguin version of Keymaster, right, that came out in 2022 and came with 4 gimmick keys. Shortly after Keymaster came out, I think a year later, we brought out Gatekeeper, which was designed to look like the Keymaster keys. So this is called Key Cutter, and this is again designed to use all of the Keymaster range of keys. So this is designed to look just like the Keymaster keys, and that's very, very cool because I go through multiple different handlings on the project where you can use this as a lead into Keymaster or as an outro from Keymaster. So there's a lot of different ways that you can actually use this. But the core routine, why I'm so proud of it, is because this is actually very heavily inspired and based on Keyvolution by Mark Leveridge. Now, for those of you that don't know, Mark Leveridge is one of my favourite magicians of all time and was a huge inspiration for me when I first got into magic. I remember going to the Blackpool Magic Convention every single year, and he'd always have his stand. You'd go down the stairs and you go all the way to the end, and that's where Mark would be. And I would stand there for hours watching him dem over and over again. And I'd watch him dem routines that I'd already bought. And the reason I would is because from my point of view, watching him perform was a masterclass in how to perform magic. And I would watch him perform and I'd be like, man, one day, I hope to be as good as him. He personified what an amazing close-up magician should be, in my point of view. And one of my favourite routines to perform in a mix and mingle situation was a trick that he brought out called Keyvolution. Keyvolution. Now, Keyvolution is a self-cutting key, but it is the single most incredible self-cutting key you've ever seen. This is exact. I'm not embellishing anything. Anybody who remembers Keyvolution will tell you this is exactly what happens. You bring out a key, you hand the key out so they can examine the key. They look at the key. You then put it on a key fob, and you show another key. So you show the first key they examine is a key blank. Okay, so it's not being cut. The second key they examine is a cut key. It's being cut. They examine these keys. You put them on a key fob. You show the key fob. They can see that there's 2 keys on there, one cut, one uncut. You then have them put their hand around those 2 keys. And there is no switch. At that point where they see the 2 keys on the key fob and they see the one that's cut, they see the one that's uncut, they've just examined them, they close their hand around those 2 keys, seeing one's cut and one's not cut. They see that. And then you talk about how, magicians can cut keys by magic, and then when they open up their hand, now both keys in their hand are cut. They're both cut in an identical way, and everything is examinable. And I remember the first time Mark showed me this, I was like blown away. I was like, that can't be right. You can't do that. That's impossible. I was blown away. And then when I learned the secret, this was my go-to mix and mingle trick. So this is the trick that I would do, mix and mingle every day in, day out. This is the trick I would do. And he got an incredible reaction. Anyway, it's not been available for a long time. And when I was sitting around with Penguin and we were talking about additions to the Keymaster range and having more keys that fit into that infrastructure, I talked about Keyvolution and the idea of having a self-cutting key. And I went to Mark Leveridge and I said to Mark, Mark, look, I've got this range of keys called Keymaster, which he was aware of. I was like, look, we're wanting to add to the range, and me and Penguin were thinking about doing a self-cutting key, and obviously Keyvolution came to mind. Can I buy the rights to Keyvolution so that I can produce it through Penguin Magic? And Mark had to think about it for a while, and then came back to me and said yes, which made me so happy because Mark is genuinely a hero of mine. He's one of my favourite magicians of all time. Keyvolution is one of my favourite tricks of all time. And he said yes, and he loves the idea of it being part of the Keymaster infrastructure. So the legacy of Keyvolution will live on forever because he is just as proud of that trick as I am of the fact that I performed it for years. I love that trick. So I bought the rights, not Penguin, me. I bought the rights myself personally, and then went to Penguin and said, right, I've got the rights. Here's a Keyvolution. Make this. And they did. And they made it just exactly how it should be, which is great because they're bloody hard to make. It's a precision-made gimmick. And Mark's tried to have people make them in the past and failed. The guy that used to make the Keyvolutions couldn't make them anymore, and we were able to crack the code, which is great. And then I went to work on Craigifying it, and so we've got the original Mark leverage handling, and then we have multiple other handlings as well, because there is so much you can do with it beyond just a self-cutting key. And I wanted this project to show all the different ways that you can actually use this. And the reactions that I got from this doing the live performances in Columbus. This is such a good trick. So it's called key cutter, which is, but it's also got on there, key cutter, the evolution of Keyvolution by Mark Leverage, and it's my favorite key trick. It's my favorite key trick. It's my favorite key trick over and above Keymaster, over and above Gatekeeper. I promise you that when you see this, you're going to want to do it. If you are a mix and mingle magician, if you want something in your pocket that's just a brilliant everyday carry. Because the thing is, and one of the reasons I love this is, a lot of the time when you're performing magic, it doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, if you were a real magician, would you really make a card come to the top of the deck? Would you really make a coin disappear? Would you really make a little red ball go underneath the cup? Probably not. But would you use your magical powers to solve mundane things that you have to do on a daily basis, like cutting keys? Yeah, you would. And so it's got an interesting hook to get straight into the routine straight away. So Keyvolution, part of the Keymaster lineup, with the kind permission and blessing from Mark Leverage, is coming soon. And I couldn't be more. Okay, so number 4, let's head back to Alakazam, shall we? And let's talk about another trick that's coming out very, very soon. I believe that these are at Alakazam. I know from my point of view, the tutorial was filmed over a year ago. The trailer was made by Nemid over a year ago. And this is called Shortchanged. Now, anybody who's got my book, Absolute Madness, will recognize this, or at least the basic concept of it. So, in Absolute Madness, I included a routine called Virtual Matrix, which is basically a matrix using coins that I've drawn on playing cards. And it's been so well received from the people that bought the book. And a lot of people have contacted me and they've said, look, we've made our own version up like you have on the tutorial or on the performance at the P3 Theatre, but it'd be really nice to have like a special set made up with like American coins or UK coins or whatever. Is there any way you could do that? And yes is the answer. Alakazam were able to make these, which is just great because I've had so many people, like I say, want a professionally made set of these cards. So Shortchanged, the basic effect, the main effect is what you saw in Absolute Madness, which was one of everyone's favourite tricks, and just an amazing packet trick. And what I love about it is, so you bring out a packet of 4 cards, and you show very, very cleanly that there's 4 coins on them. Each card has a coin on the face, and the back is normal. And then what you do is you hand one of those cards to the spectator. They hold it in their hand. You show the other 3, and one by one you make the coins disappear off the cards. You show them front and back every single time. There's no sticky stuff or anything. You show them front and back every single time. And then when they open up their hand and they turn their hand over, now their card has got 4 coins on it. It's designed for a walk-around situation. Very magical. Then you tell them to cup their hands together and you take the card off them and you go boom. And as you do, the 4 coins visually appear in their hand. The card is now turned over and it's blank. All of the coins have fallen off. You put the card away and you're left with 4 coins, so you can go into any coin routine you want to go into. And that's why I love this trick so much. It's a great lead into a coin trick. It's a great packet trick. It's a great opener because it's quick, it's visual, the magic happens in the spectator's hands, it's very easy to follow, very direct. But because you've got a production of 4 cards at the end, that's even better, right? Because it means that you can now go into any coin routine that you want to go into. So yeah, and on the project, I go through a metric ton of other ways of doing it. I even teach 3 or 4 different ways of doing matrix, because one of my favorite things to do with these coins is to then take the cards and do matrix. It kind of makes sense, right? The coins appeared off the cards. Now you use the cards to make the coins jump around all over the place. So I teach various different ways of doing matrix. I teach various different routines with the coins. I teach various different ways of actually performing the routine. But in essence, it's a really cool packet trick ending up with a 4 coin production, so you can go into any coin routine you want to go into. So it's called Shortchanged. Again, I'm thinking it's going to be before summer. I could see, because Alakazam now don't just do a live launch, they do a live launch show at the end of every month. I could see them releasing a couple of Craig Petty products, and I think they could release this and Ice Stretch at the same time. If I was Peter Nardi, that's probably what I would do. So I could see this coming out before August as well. But there you go. It's called Shortchanged. Have you reached out to me about the virtual matrix in Absolute Madness, asking if there's a way that you can get the cards professionally made? Yes, there is, and it's coming soon. Okay, so the final trick that I want to talk about today, or the final project, is definitely going to be here before the end of the year. And it's the Gaff deck project by myself and Lloyd Barnes. Now, this has been the longest in the works. This has been going on for 4 years now. I have had numerous trips to Wales to go around Lloyd's house and work out what the cards are going to be in this deck. This is Murphy's first Gaff deck. This is a really big deal. This is my first Gaff deck as well, and one of the bucket list items I've always had as a magician, as a creator, is to have a Gaff deck. Now, when I talk about Gaff decks, I'm not talking about the invisible deck. I'm not talking about the that's Fengali deck or anything like that. I'm talking about kind of like the old school illusionist Gaff deck projects that you'd see Kelly Morelli and Justin Miller and Daniel Garcia on, and those sort of people, Wayne Houchin and Nate Cranzo and so on and so forth, where you have a deck of 56 playing cards and each card is designed for a particular trick or a particular purpose. Every card has been purposefully custom designed to do a particular thing. I pitched very early on when I started working with Murphys. The first thing that I went to them with was the Quantum deck, and as I was speaking to, I'm pretty sure it was the Quantum deck. As I was speaking to Lloyd, we both talked about how much we love Gaff decks, and he'd done a couple of Gaff decks with Illusionist when he was working with Illusionist. I'd never done one. And I was like, why have Murphys not done one? And he said, well, I think they'll be open to the idea, but they've just never had a creator that they could kind of ask to do it that they knew would deliver. And I said, well, why don't you and I work together and put together a Gaff deck? And he's like, oh, it's an amazing idea. Now, me and Lloyd have worked together on many projects, but all of those projects happened after the Gaff deck. So why is it taking this long? It's taken this long because we had to go back and forth on what the cards would be, and it's taken a long time to get to that point, because we've had cards taken out for various different reasons. We've removed cards, we've had cards in, and also my approach to creating magic and Lloyd's approach to creating magic is very different. Lloyd tends to come at things from a very hyper visual way, right? He wants things to be super hyper visual. There's nothing wrong with that, but he's willing to sacrifice practicality in order to have visual impact. Now, from my point of view, I've never made a bloody flap card in my life. My point of view, I come to it as I want it to be practical and to be able to work in every situation. And if that means I have to sacrifice certain visual elements, I'm more than happy to do that. So the two of us worked together on this, and we kind of found a middle ground. So all of the routines are practical, but they're also very different to the sort of stuff that you would have seen Lloyd do in the past. They're also very different to the stuff that I've done in the past. And it's literally taken us years to get to the point where we're all happy. Both of us are happy with the content of the Gaff deck. And we've had prototype decks made up and we've played around with it. Some of the cards didn't work like we wanted them to work, so we had to take those out and create new Gaffs. Honestly, the process that we've had to go through to get this deck ready is nothing short of insane, to be perfectly honest. But we have, and we're so happy with where it is. Now, the reason I say this is probably going to be before the end of the year is because I know that the decks have now been printed and they're on their way over to the Murphy's warehouse. We signed off on the decks quite a while ago. They've been printed and they're on the way over to the Murphy's warehouse, which is where we come in, because then at that point we can film the tutorial. Now I have a feeling this will be a fairly long tutorial because some of the cards can do more than one routine, and there's multiple cards on there as well. Multiple routines, multiple cards. I have a feeling it's going to be the best thing that me and Lloyd have worked on. I don't know. We haven't filmed it yet. We haven't seen the performances yet. But we've obviously played over and over again with the tutorial, with the prototypes, and got very, very excited about what it is that we're creating here. But yeah, it's basically an old school illusionist style Gaff deck. Anybody who's been a fan of Magic TV for any length of time will know that I've been talking about this project for a long time. I know Murph is very excited about it internally. I know I'm very excited about it. Lloyd is especially very excited about it. Gaff decks are one of Lloyd's favourite things. It's why he did so many Gaff decks when he was with Illusionist. It's one of his favourite things. And he wanted to make sure it was 100% correct. Well, it is 100% correct. It's some of the cards are going to blow people away. There's some particular cards that are just going to be amazing. So there you go. That is the Gaff deck project. That's the 5th project that I want to talk about. Here we go. So there you go, guys. That's another video in the bag. Now, obviously, there's other stuff that might come out this year. I don't know. Like I say, I can't 100% guarantee what will or won't come out. There's other stuff that might come out, and there's projects that are coming out with my name on it because I'm hosting it for a particular person. So the Button by Chris James and Jao Miranda, that's coming out soon. You know, it's not my trick, but I'm the one that put a lot of the stuff together for that, and I'm very excited about that. There's a bunch of other stuff as well that's coming out that's got my name on it. I've worked on the project with them. Look out for something called Acrobatic Coin from Seth Race, because that is going to be absolutely amazing. It's a brand new coin gimmick. And there's stuff that might come out this year but might not. Like, I'm hoping to have a second TCC release this year. The first one, the Spectrum Sharpie, was very well received. I've had workers turn around to me and say that it's their favourite thing to do in walk around. I was speaking to Gwilliam, who is a gold member on the Netrix from Malta, and he was talking to me about how he loves Spectrum Sharpie. Well, I'm hoping to have a second TCC trick out by the end of the year. Love working with TCC. And you heard it here first. I've got a trick coming out with Trick Trick Boom, Roddy McGee and Noel Quilter, and I think I'm the first artist that they've ever worked with, and I'm hoping that will be out at Magic Live. That's the goal, that comes out at Magic Live. So there's a bunch of stuff that potentially might come out, but the 5 tricks, the Savant deck, Eye Stretch, the Key Cutter, Shortchanged, and the Gaff deck project, those are the ones that I think are most likely to come out in 2025, between now and the end of the year. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is anyone excited about any of these? This is the next one. Get excited about the Savant deck. I know I am. And for those people that think that I've been hyping stuff up for the last half an hour, that was not my intention, and I apologise if you think that's the case. Normal service will resume tomorrow. But outside of that, I will see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again. My name's Craig. This is Magic TV, and don't forget to check out the Netrix. www.thenetrix.com. I'll see you again soon.